Hey, sports fans, welcome back to another episode of Bucky's Sports Show. I'm going to be talking about the Sycamores today. A lot of action going on for Indiana State athletics last week. I am here to review it and talk all things Indiana State Sycamores. Let's get started with women's soccer. They started the week out on Thursday against Eastern Illinois. That game was played to a 1-1 tie. This game was kind of crazy even for soccer standards. Eastern Illinois got their goal 37 seconds into the game. It took them 37 seconds to score a goal. Indiana State got their goal at the 79-15 mark in the game, and that was it. So you had one team score early, which is normally an indicator in soccer of we're going to dominate, and then the other team scores late, which is usually an indicator that they don't have the ball that often. But that wasn't the case here. That wasn't the case. Indiana State's goal was scored by Alex Leonard. When you look at the team stats, Indiana State had 15 total shots on the night, 4 on goal. Eastern Illinois only had 7 shots total and 4 on goal. Each team had 3 saves. Indiana State had 4 corner kicks to EIU's 3. Indiana State was the more aggressive team. They had 8 fouls that they committed. EIU did not commit a foul. Indiana State did a very nice job of limiting the number of shots EIU got, but they just couldn't convert. They had 11 shots there in the second half, and they just could not convert other than Alex Leonard's goal there at the 79-15 mark. Not a terribly played game. Just couldn't really get that second look that they needed to go. They had the opportunities. It just didn't pan out. But at the end of the day, it's not a loss, it's a tie. I still don't understand why they don't do something at the end of regulation to break ties. But that's neither here nor there. You know, pretty good outing here for Sycamores. Other than they just couldn't get another goal to get a win here. Sunday afternoon, they played host to Southeast Missouri State, and Indiana State came away with a 5-0 victory. Again, Indiana State really controlled the tempo of the game. They had 21 shots, 13 on goal. They limited SEMO to 11 shots, 4 on goal. SEMO had 8 saves. Indiana State saved 4. Corner kicks, SEMO led those 5-3, and fouls were even at 5. Goals for Indiana State. Tori Angelo got things started at the 6:41 mark, and that was assisted by Alex Leonard. Alex Leonard added the second goal, and it was assisted by Anna Core. The third goal was by Quinn Urquhart. That was assisted by Brooklyn Woods. Isabella Berta had the fourth goal, assisted by Alex Leonard. And Ashlyn Cohen into the scoring. That was assisted by Brooklyn Woods. Now, Indiana State did have a red card in this game, and that went to Tori Angelo. Autumn Fairfax received a yellow card for Indiana State as well, and Simo also had 2 yellow cards. Again, overall, really good day for the Sycamores. 5-0 victory. Really controlled the ball. Defended well. Just kind of unfortunate that Angelo got the red card. She will most likely have to miss a little bit of the next game, if not all of it. For the 5-0 victory, Sunday afternoon. We're going to take that all day long. And this win improved Indiana State's record to 3-3-2 on the year. So they are back to 500. Volleyball. They were at the Northern Illinois Invitational on Friday and Saturday. They kicked things off against SIU Edwardsville. They did beat SIU Edwardsville last week. Unfortunately, they lost this week 3-1. SIU Edwardsville won the first set 25-17. Indiana State bounced back to take set 2 25-23. And then SIU won the next 2 25-21 and 25-20. Indiana State, we've got to talk about their hitting percentage. The hitting percentage, the formula for that is the kills minus errors divided by total attempts. So when you look at their SIU Edwardsville's hitting percentage, the first set, they had a negative 5% hitting percentage. They had 10 errors and only 8 kills. You cannot have a negative hitting percentage and expect to win. I'm surprised it was even as close as it was with the negative hitting percentage. And then they came out the next set 2, they hit 34%, 13 kills to 4 errors. Set 3, 16 kills to 5 errors. Set 4, percentage was lower again, 11 kills to 8 errors. But on the match, 15%, it's not going to get it done. It's not going to get it done. You have to be somewhere around 20% and above. You have to. Indiana State had just too many errors in this game. They had 20 attack errors, 9 service errors, just way too many errors in this game. First set they got out to a 4-0 lead. They jumped out to a quick start. Really kept that 4-point lead all the way through 9-5, and then SIU just slowly started chipping away at it until they took a 14-11 lead, and then Indiana State tied it at 14. After that, it was all SIU, again winning that first set 25-17. Set 2 was the exact opposite. SIUE got out to a 4-0 lead. Indiana State just had to chip away at it. They got up 17-12. And here's where we talk about Indiana State struggling last week to close things out. And again, they have a 17-12 lead in the set. And the set ends up being tied 18-18. Indiana State does go on to win that, but they also gave up the lead. SIUE was up 21-20 in this set. And Indiana State had to fight back. They did win the set 25-23, but if you're going to be up 17-12, you've got to finish it out. got to be able to finish that out without it getting to a tie or losing the lead. Set 3, this one was kind of back and forth all the way. No team really had a huge lead in this set. Largest was at 14-11. The largest was at 20-15. And then Indiana State, they started chipping away at it. They got back to 2018. But SIUE was ultimately able to finish this one out, winning the set 25-21. Set 4, again, SIUE jumped out 4-0. Indiana State got it back to 7-6. And then it was just more of a gradual. SIU just kind of slowly built their lead to 15-9. Indiana State did cut it to 17-15 and 18-16. 21-19. But SIUE just didn't let Indiana State go on a long run to win this one 25-20. I talked last week about Indiana State and them having to face each other again. SIU really did a nice job on making those adjustments that they needed to make. Always found it coaching, making adjustments was easier coming off a loss than after a win. You're just able to know what adjustments you have to make. When you win, you don't really want to make adjustments, but you know the other team's going to make adjustments, but you don't know what those adjustments are going to be, so you don't really make adjustments. So you're trying to guess what the other team's going to do, and it is just harder to make those real quick, especially when it's like the very next week. But good job to SIUE. Indiana State, they're leaders in this game. Ava Robar had 18 kills. She also led with 3 aces. Ella Scott had 5 blocks. Avery Hills had 19 assists. And Chloe Gilly had 13 digs. The second match on night 1 of this invitational was against the hosts, Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois won this 3-2, so Indiana State was able to take this the distance. NIU won the first set 25-15. Indiana State bounced back nicely 25-23. NIU picked up the third set 25-18. And Indiana State dominated the fourth set 25-14. But NIU was able to bounce back in that fifth set, winning 15-11. Again, looking at the hitting percentage in this set, or in this match, set 1, Indiana State had a 0%. They had 7 kills and 7 errors. It's just not good enough. At set 2, they were at 18.8. They had 11 kills to 5 errors. Set 3, 10 kills, 6 errors for 12.5%. Set 4 was their best set of the day. 16 kills, 4 errors, 30%. And then when you look at set 5, Indiana State had 8 kills, 5 errors, 24 attempts, 12.5%. And NIU had 9 kills, 2 errors, 22 attempts, 31.8%. And that's what got the fifth set. That right there. But Indiana State on the match hit 16.3% and NIU hit 21.6%. it's not a huge gap there. They just have to consistently get over that 20% mark. When you can do that, you're going to put yourselves in a better opportunity to win. And again, you look at the errors. 27 attack errors. They had 9 service errors. 9 service aces, 9 service errors. You want that to be way higher. Set 1, Indiana State got out to a 3-0 lead there. NIU, they took an 8-4 lead. Just stretched that out to 17-6. Got it up to 22-9 before finishing it off a 25-15 set 1 win. Indiana State in set 2 started off 2-0. Stretched it to 5-3. And then it started kind of going back and forth after NIU took a 6-5 lead. Indiana State stretched the lead to 15-11. And then NIU kind of chipped away to get it tied at 18. And then Indiana State and them, again, they started kind of going back and forth with points. Indiana State had a 23-21 lead and, again, could not finish without giving up the lead. NIU was able to tie it at 23. But they were able to get a kill and an ace to finish out the set. Set 3, NIU got out to a 3-0 lead. And this one was just kind of some small runs. Indiana State took a 7-6 lead. NIU went on a lengthy run to make it 12-7. And then they just kind of just started going back and forth with their points again. NIU got up 22-14. Indiana State tried to mount a little bit of a comeback. But ultimately NIU won 25-18. Set 4. This was a really nice set for Indiana State. They got out to an 8-0 lead. They built that to 11-4. NIU got back into it at 13-10. And then Indiana State just kind of said, nope, we're not doing that. They built it to 19-12. And ended up winning this set 25-14. Set 5, this is where you can't allow a huge run. NIU got the first 2. Indiana State responded taking a 4-2 lead. NIU then takes a 6-4 lead. Indiana State answers with a 3-point run. Take a 7-6 lead. After that, Northern Illinois scored 4 in a row to take a 10-7 lead, and there's when you just kind of start trading points back and forth, and NIU ends up winning 15-11. So this wasn't an awful performance overall. It would have been very nice to get that road victory, but just wasn't meant to be on this day. For Indiana State, their leaders in this one, Kira Holland had 16 kills. Emily Weber and Kira Holland had three aces each. Ella Scott had 3 blocks. Emily Weber had 25 assists. And Chloe Gilly had 21 digs. And to close out the Invitational, Indiana State played Merrimack on Saturday afternoon. And Indiana State came away with a 3-0 victory. They won those sets 25-6, 25-21, and 25-10. Just absolutely complete domination. And you talk about hitting percentage, and this is what you want. Set 1, Indiana State had 10 kills, 1 error for 40.9%. Set 2, back to their old ways. But Merrimack had the exact same number. Both teams were 11 kills, 8 errors, 39 attempts for 7.7%. In the third set, Indiana State was back to dominating again. 13 kills, 2 errors, 27 attempts, 40.7%. They hit 26.1% on the match. Merrimack was negative 4.4% on the match. Indiana State did a very nice job at the nets, keeping Merrimack from getting much of anything going. And Indiana State was able to limit their service errors. They had 4 service errors. They had 4 service errors, had 13 aces, didn't have not a whole lot, 11 attack errors. Really, really solid games here. The set 1, Merrimack actually got out to a 1-0 lead. Indiana State went on a run. It was tied at 3, and that's when it became all Sycamores. Indiana State took a 9-3 lead, and then they went up 15-4, then 22-5, and then won 25-6. Just did not let Merrimack go on any sort of scoring run outside of 2. A very nicely played set. Really did what you had to do and just dominate and not let a team in it. Second set, again, these were back and forth scoring. Indiana State was able to get up 8-3. Then again at 12-5, 15-9. But the problem here is they were up 19-14. And Merrimack got back into it. They got to 19-18. Indiana State scored a couple. And then Merrimack did 21-20. Indiana State never gave up the lead in this set, but it was 22-21 before they scored their final 3 points to close it out at 25-21. They have got to close games out better. They have got to close out sets better. Third set, Merrimack actually got out to a 4-0 lead in this one. Indiana State then tied it at 4. Merrimack got up 9-6. And then Indiana State rolled off 9 straight points to make it 15-9. And then Merrimack scored one more time to make it 15-10. And then Indiana State rolled off 10 straight points to make it a 25-10 victory in set 3. Indiana State's leaders in this. Kira Holland had 16 kills. Chloe Gilly had 4 aces. Ella Scott had 3 blocks. Emily Weber 19 assists. And Hadley Harderson had 19 digs. A really, really good performance on Saturday. Not an awful weekend for the volleyball team. You would like to see a little bit better of a performance there on Friday, but they were able to go the distance against the host there, which tough to do. Let's talk a little Indiana State football. Indiana State hosted Eastern Illinois on Saturday at Memorial Stadium, and Indiana State came away with a 38-14 win. Really just dominated from the start, but this is the first time since 1986 that Indiana State football has started 2-0. So exciting that they're able to get out to that 2-0 start. But there's some stuff coming down the track here that they gotta get better on. One of which we're gonna start off time of possession. Eastern Illinois dominated time of possession, 35 minutes to 22 minutes and 26 seconds. Indiana State held the ball for 22 minutes and 26 seconds. They have got to do a better job of holding the football and making long runs. All right, their first possession, minute 28, but they scored a touchdown. Anytime you score a touchdown, you're going to live with it. But here they had a 3-and-out and had to punt, minute 29. They had 10 plays, lost it on downs, 3 minutes, 22 seconds. That's probably their best drive without scoring, right there. The next possession, 4 minutes, 44 seconds, ended in a touchdown. You take it. And really, 4 minutes, 45 seconds, not a bad possession. Next drive, this one was really a killer drive, actually. This is coming off an interception, and they started on the 7-yard line. And they held the ball for 1 minute, 38 seconds. They ran 4 plays, only got 5 yards, and had to kick a field goal. You've got to be able to put it in the end zone. When you start on the 7-yard line, you've got to be able to put it in the end zone. The next one, the 48 seconds, it ended because of halftime. Their first possession of the third quarter, 3 plays, 2 yards, 40 seconds. Their second one, 3 plays, 2 yards, minute 27. Their third one, 2 minutes, 10 seconds, touchdown. Great. Next one, 3 plays, 7 yards, minute 9, punt, hold it longer. Again, minute 31, touchdown. Their next possession is 6 plays, 71 yards, ending in a touchdown. There's no time on it, so I'm trying to figure out the time here. It says Indiana State started the drive at 15, but the Eastern Illinois drive prior started at 8:42, and the next Eastern Illinois drive started at 3:10. Okay, so by my calculations, that drive for Indiana State lasted 2 minutes, 34 seconds. And that would have been their last drive of the game. Again, ended with a touchdown. Their last official drive was minute 53, and they were just 3 plays, 17 yards. Taking a knee at the end to secure the victory. Again, Indiana State rushing, they ran for 211 yards. They passed for 201. Their quarterbacks were 21 for 28. No interceptions on the day. 412 yards of total offense. Very, very good there. Probably the only thing is the penalties. 6 penalties, 65 yards. That's quite a bit compared to Illinois State's 7 and 28. Only had to punt 4 times. A pretty solid day. And I mentioned quarterbacks there. Elijah Owens, the starting quarterback for Indiana State. Yeah, he started 9 for 10, 67 yards, had a touchdown. Unfortunately, he ended his day with his arm in a sling. Hopefully, he will be okay and able to return. But Keegan Patterson came in. When he came in, I was watching, kind of thinking defense is going to have to keep dominating. But he was 11 for 17, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then when you look at the rushing, Elijah Owens, he ran 9 times for 50 yards. Keegan Patterson ran 5 times for 78 yards. So those guys are they're just able to be mobile when nothing's open, make something work with their feet, and just did a really, really nice job on Saturday. Their normal running backs, Ples Lawrence, he was coming off the Missouri Valley Offensive Player of the Week from last year, which is really impressive when you look at all the great teams that are in the Missouri Valley. For him to get that honor is quite an accomplishment. But he had 10 attempts and ran for 10 yards. EIU really focused on him and did a nice job of not allowing him to break out. Nick Osho, he had 2 attempts, 38 yards and a touchdown. Now, I will say, Ples Lawrence, he had a touchdown as well. So he was able to get in the end zone there, rushing. Receiving wise, Larry Stevens the third and Rashad Rochelle led with 5 receptions each. Stevens had 63 yards and a touchdown. Rochelle had 57 yards and a touchdown. Ples Lawrence was able to get a reception for 19 yards and a touchdown as well. So EIU really focused on Lawrence this week, which they probably should have, but he was still able to find the end zone twice. Really, really solid performance there by getting in the end zone twice. Again, offensively, Indiana State, they just dominated. Wish they could hold the ball a little longer, but there are some teams that are more up tempo than slow paced. But I just think if they want to compete, they have to run the play clock and not get into a scoring match with some of the teams on their schedule. Defensively, Jaden Childers, he had an interception. Braxton Sampson had a forced fumble. And then Kimmel Clark led him in tackles with 10 total. 5 solo, 5 assisted. And Braxton Sampson led them with tackles for loss with 3, and he was tied with Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson's so Braxton Sampson was 3 for 5 yards lost, and Logan Wilson was 3 for 14 yards lost. Kicking wise, Sebastian Lopez, he had 1 field goal. It was a 25-yarder. It was good. He was 5 for 5 on point after touchdowns. Rashad Rochelle. You kind of the kick returner. You have 4 returns for 50 yards. Those were punts. Kickoffs, he had 1 return for 20 yards. Really, really nice job from Rochelle. I'm kind of expecting some big things from him. He transferred in from Rutgers last year, so I really expect him to end up having a big season for Indiana State. He also had a passing attempt where he was 1 for 1 for 23 yards. He's really right now doing everything but rushing the football for Indiana State. Again, I am expecting some really big things out of him this year. We will see what happens there. But anytime a program like Indiana State can get a kid that has played at the Big Ten level, you have high hopes there. Looking at next week, we are going to be talking about the women's golf. They are currently playing in the Redbird Invitational, but that does not end until next week. It started today and continues into next week, so we will talk about that next time. But really looking to see what the golf program has here. They had some really nice golfers last year. They won the Evansville Invitational last year. They finished 9th out of 16th in Butler's tournament that they host in Florida in March. They won the Purdue Fort Wayne tournament in Florida. So they had some really nice tournaments. They also had some disasters, don't get me wrong. Finished 11th out of 12 at the Missouri Valley last year. Kind of hoping for a little bit better than that. But looking at their roster, they do have a couple of seniors, and then they only have 1 freshman. So they have a lot coming back from last year's team. So hopefully the women's golf can have a strong fall season and then take that momentum into the spring season. Soccer. This week they improved their record to 3-3-2 overall. Next week they go play at Green Bay, and then on Thursday, and then they will host Lindenwood on Sunday. Well, hopefully they can get a couple wins there. And then for volleyball, they will be hosting the Refreshment Services Pepsi Sycamores Volleyball Invite. They have some big time opportunities here, I think. But the entire schedule, if you're going to be in Terre Haute and you like college volleyball, you might want to check this out. Friday, Indiana State, they will play game 1 against Montana. That's an 11 a.m. start. Game 3 is Indiana State versus Eastern Illinois. That's a 7 p.m. start. And then Indiana State finishes the invite off on Saturday, playing Butler at 7 p.m. Your other matchups, though, Game 2 on Friday is Butler versus Montana at 2:30. And then Game 1 on Saturday is Eastern Illinois versus Montana at 11. And followed by Butler versus Eastern Illinois at 2:30. So, hopefully there, Indiana State can hold their own at home. These are being played at Holman Center. I'm going to try my best to get to one of these. We will see if I can make that happen. Football. Big time game. Big time game for the football program. They are playing in Bloomington against number 22 Indiana. This is a game that Indiana State has zero chance of winning. No chance. But IU is paying Indiana State $475,000 to play this game. This game matters not for the football team, but for the entire athletic department. This is a huge money game for Indiana State. And really, if Indiana State can come out of this game without any injuries, if no one gets hurt in this game, that is a huge win. That is a huge win. Because when you look at the schedule that follows, they have Montana coming up, who is ranked number 10 in the country in FCS. They have Southern Illinois coming up, who's ranked number 15. And then they go on a little Dakota tour. They have South Dakota, who is ranked number 6. They've got North Dakota State, who's ranked number 1. They have North Dakota. They are now up to number 22 in the rankings. Then they have South Dakota State, who's number 2 in the country. And then it gets a little bit easier there at the end of the schedule. Gets a little easier. They have Illinois State, who's number 7. Youngstown State, who's not ranked. And Murray State, who is also not ranked. But looking, Youngstown State is getting votes. And Indiana State got 2 votes. And Northern Iowa also received votes, who Indiana State does not play this year. So, really, really tough part of their schedule coming up. Really, really need to stay healthy at the Indiana State game to give yourself a chance to knock off some of these ranked teams in your own division. Especially now that your starting quarterback could be missing some time. The arm in the sling was not a good sign. But I think the backup will be fine once he gets some reps with the starters. Man, when you gotta play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ranked teams in a row, we're fixing to find out what the Sycamores football team's made of. 2-0 for the first time since 1986. Would love to see them make some noise here in that stretch that's coming up. But again, that starts off with just stay healthy against IU. obviously you want to go to IU and you want to perform well. But if Signetti wants to win that game, he could win that game by 100 if he wanted to. IU's just that good, unfortunately. But like I said, we'll 2-0, first time since 1986, and we're fixing to find out if they're pretenders or contenders here. Not really expecting a lot against IU, as you can tell. But if they stay healthy, I'm hopeful that they can knock off a couple of those teams that are ranked there, and it would be nice. It would be nice to finish in the middle of that Missouri Valley Football Conference standings. With that, we will wrap up this episode. Make sure you like, follow, comment, subscribe. If you have anything you want me to talk about, email me at buckysportshow@gmail.com. As always, enjoy the games and go Sycamores!